Hi, welcome to the van build, episode 16, the lift bed. This was done a little while ago because it was so big, but here it is now complete. What I decided to do is to buy some aluminium, 50mm by 25mm. These are going to be placed across the top and the bottom of the bed to support the marine ply that's going on the top and the tongue and groove that's going on the bottom. I've also cut off some of these, and what's going to happen, they're going to go either side here. One there, and the other one will go inside there and bolted to the aluminium frame of the bed to give it some support. I also, because the bed is very low rating, up to 50 kilos weight, I've got to try and reduce the weight by every piece I can. So what I've decided to do is drill holes to bring down the weight of this. So what I intend to do is use this as my marker. Okay, those green marks is where all the holes are going to go. The reason why I do this is that, and with that piece too, it gives me a nice, probably about 10 to 15mm here, strength on the top. So that's on the top here. Actually, I've done one, I'll show you it. This is the one I've already done. Okay, you can see on the top here, don't bring that too close up, you'll weaken it too much. You need about that much. Remember, that's 50mm, so you should be able to scale it down easy enough. If you do that all the way along, you'll be laughing. I couldn't do the end because I don't know the length of it. I haven't got the bed yet. But I'm trying to do as much as I can to this before I get the bed. So now I'll show you how I do the marking out and the drilling. Now that I have marked it, as you can see here, next thing to do is start drilling it. I will be drilling using a 25mm hole saw. I went to Bunnings and I got some of this to lubricate the aluminium. And without the lubrication, we'll just burn out the hole saw. Just nice and slow and let the cutter do the work, okay? holes all the way along. It's time to deburr him with this, a deburring tool. Get all the sharp edges off. That's the first side done, all nicely done. Then you just have to turn it over and do the same with that side, which I'm not going to put on video. So that's it. And there should be another 7 to go. That's putting 5 on the top of the bed and 3 underneath. First of all, I'd like to say a big thank you to all the people who work at North Coast RV, Slacks Creek in Queensland. They certainly gave me a good deal with this bed. It cost on roughly about $2,400 plus delivery, depending on where you live. What I will be doing first is cutting down the outside frame to suit our bed. It's a little bit different than a normal size bed. It's going to actually measure about 1400 by 1700. That piece in the middle has got to be cut down too. But one thing I will mention first, that if you see over here, that slot is where the strap comes through. On the other side, it's like that. Now when you erect it, make sure these screws are not up here, pointing up. They've got to be where they are now. So as it comes through, it goes straight up and it doesn't rub on it. Also, before I carry on, I'd like to show you this. This is optional, but I strongly suggest you buy it. It comes in pairs, and what happens, it helps prevent the bed lift from swaying. Now, that's what happens. It gets put in there, and then this slides up and down like that. But if you can see in the middle, you can adjust that middle bearing. Where is it? You can adjust that middle bearing here to go in or out if it's too loose. Very good idea. Good steel and a good design. What we need to do now is cut both ends of this aluminium centerpiece, and also we need to transfer these holes further up here. I'm taking off about 165 millimeters, so 165 millimeters plus this distance here, we will scribe it up here, so when we cut it off, it will be ready to transfer it again. I'll cut it off now and show you what's happened. Okay, what we need to do now is drill 8 holes, 6 millimeter tapped, which means to say drill it with a 5mm drill, then tap it with a 6mm tap. If you don't want to, just drill all the way through with 6mm and use a Nylex nut underneath. But I will be tapping them and then using the nut also for added support. We've had to cut that plate, and the same with the other end. I've covered over a plastic bag for all the electrics to try and keep the swarf from going in. One very important thing I forgot to tell you. Make sure that that hole lines up with where the cable comes out, or the strap should I say, comes out. If you don't, it's going to be out of whack. So don't forget, that has to line up with that. What you can do is just put a mark in the corner, A or 1, whatever, to make sure you don't get it wrong. Okay, I've put the screws and the Nylex nuts on the bottom, and I've done completely up. Now, when you look down, they're all below the surface. I did that to the other side too. So now what I'm going to be doing is checking the corners, make sure they're nice and square, and then I'm going to start putting those aluminium pieces on in the very first part of this build. One thing I must say, I didn't have any of this earlier because I didn't have the bed, so I had to guess this one with all the holes in how it would be turning out. You'll see as I go along what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be cutting up about 2 to go across the full length of here to support the tongue and groove panels for underneath the bed. These little brackets are the ones that hold the other piece. Just 2 rivets is sufficient, with one on the other side with a string line going across to miss the middle piece and attach here. Okay, I've just put the first underneath supports on, as you can see here, with little brackets that are made up. This is going to be supporting the tongue and groove. Okay, what I've done now is I've put 5 rows of brackets up this side, which is the top side of the bed. As you can see, there's 2 brackets instead of 1. Now both have 2 rivets each. What I need to do is place one of those lengths that I drilled at the very beginning, cut it to length, and then cut the middle piece out. It's not going to leave much, but I've made it in such a way where it just rests on top of the lid. The lid will take some of the weight, but there's enough screws there to help me with that. What I will do, I will now cut that, as I said, and then I will come back and show you. I just finished putting the top supports on. It's a little bit of hard work, but it's well worth it. As you can see, there's 5 of them now. I've got some 4mm marine ply going on there next, but that will have to wait a little while because now I have the van. I had to wait ages for that, and that's why I was building this. So I'll come back to the marine ply shortly. One other thing, I will be using 1 screw for each panel, maybe 2, but I will be using these screws to put them together. May have to pre-drill it because it's aluminium, but you won't need a big hole for it. What I've done is I've drilled in the blocks and I've screwed it all together lightly, because what I'm going to be doing now is using some tongue and grooves all the way around to make it look nice and neat. And I'll show you that when I've completed that. I just finished putting the panels on. I haven't put the screws in too hard because I'm going to be putting some edging on to tidy it all up. Plus, I've got to take it all off, stain it, and also open it all up to try and get all the swarf out. You notice I haven't put the corners on because it goes in to one of those brackets. So when I'm completely finished, I'm going to really reef it up hard and then drill it in. So hopefully it'll never have to come out again. Now what I'm going to do is take them off, and then start working on the inside. We need to make some location bearing brackets that are adjustable for the beds. So I bought a 40 by 3mm galvanized plate. You're also going to need some black mild steel flat bar to bend them on. Once you've worked out the lengths of the two pieces, then it's a question of bending them. As you can see here, I've done one. This one goes to the wall, making sure that that side is parallel to the floor, and the same with this one. So as you can see, the bolt will go through there and let this piece slide back up to about 10mm either side. This is what it's like assembled. I used the same rivets as I did with the board because they're excellent for holding, given the wide head. The time has come to put the base down and then insert one of the lights, probably on this side away from the motor, so it will give us some light once the bed is lifted up. I've just finished putting the last tongue and groove underneath, and now I've got to put some 4mm marine ply on the top for the actual air vent of the mattresses to go on. As you can see, underneath has been cut to rest on the top of those covers where the electrical system is. So when I've finished this, it will be pretty close to completion. I've just finished putting the 4mm marine ply to the base of the mattress that's going to sit on it, and put some holes in for the breathing of the mattress. You may like them a little bit thicker, but in my opinion, I think that should be enough. You can always add, but you can't put it back on. There will come a time soon that we need to put those strap ceiling mounts in the van. There's 4 of them, 2 on each side. As I've already told you, there's one here, there's one over there. This side is the widest set, and that will be going the side of the TV. You'll understand why later. So let's mount the ceiling mounts on. Once you've determined where the ceiling mount brackets are going, it's time now to do some electrical work. As you can see, what I'm putting here is the up and down switch, which is here. Okay, and next to it will be another little switch for the switch which is just there, similar to the inside of the van. This first hole I'm doing is for the switch that sends it up and down. I've had to put a large hole in because of this has a round circle, and it's got to be big enough to clear that circle. So, and after that I can reduce it to take all these, but it's got to be fed through inside, so I've got to dismantle this when it comes to the final assembly. Don't forget to remove all sharp edges on the aluminium and try and suck all the files out as you're going along. I've nearly finished all the electrics. There's very little to do now. The power comes in from that cigarette lighter, and then all the power gathers there, and all the negative gathers there also. Then it goes to the prospective jobs, which is that white one is the light here, and then you've got the bed itself, which is that black one, goes to those 2 pieces there. and then that controls this one here, which is the up and down of the bed, which I can't try yet until it's in there. I only have one more little thing to do, and that's that light, which is dead easy. That goes across here and joins up with those two things here, then gets insulated, and that's about it. What I need to talk to you about, which is pretty urgent and important, is what you need to do is find the center of that strap bracket and the center of these two brackets. It's very important that you know the distance between the center of that, and you can make a note of it. You do that for all the other ones too. Well, those two anyway. These ones aren't important because they haven't got the bearings to steady it. Okay, I've gone as far as I can go now until this bed goes into the van. Now, that's little warning I gave you about those centers. It revolves around this track. This track has bearings that run up and down it, if you can remember at the very start of this episode. That's going to get bolted to another plate here, or it actually gets bolted to those two brackets I just showed you, and then the bearings fit on here, and then it goes up and down, and those centers have got to be as close as you can get it. Now, after saying that, these are what I've just made to help out on it. I've made some clamps by using that product, and they get placed in each corner over center fastening. Okay, and that gets hooked onto that on all of them. Now you probably would have seen around here clamp. Depending on your design and everything else that you do with yours will depend how long. My one's turned out to be about 100 mil longer because I'm using a lot of mattresses for a nice comfortable sleep, but that's roughly what they look like. They will be going up near enough last. I just installed the lever clamps and also the bearing, which I've covered with paper so I don't get any dust in until we install it. Also now what you need to do is find the depth between here and the top of that ridge here, which works out for me to be about 31 millimeters. We already know the centers, so we can then start putting those bars up into the van. I've also made 4, I'm painting them today, these, which house or holds that on the top, which will then use those clamps to support it up to the ceiling. I just finished putting those racks up, or whatever you call them, for the bearings to slide down. Took me a little bit of time, especially this one. This is the first one I've done. I got that spot on using the plumb line, string line that is, and spirit level. I drilled and tapped using 4mm socket head catch screws, and it worked out to be the centers of about 1263 and a little bit. And that little bit doesn't really matter because you've got a lot of movement here, and you'll easily get 1/2 mil movement now. I just put up from yesterday when I painted them, those white brackets that hold up the bed when the bed is in the up position with those special clamps. I used some rivets on the other side than screws, because screws aren't really suitable because the material is too thin. So I use rivets And the next step is to bring the bed in. Okay, I've got the bed in the van. It's a little bit tight, but I managed to get it in okay. The straps are up, but what I may be thinking of doing is getting a little couple of plates and make a little clamp to go over the whole lot, just in case something works loose. But looking at it, it seems to be okay and probably won't need it, but just as precaution I will probably use it. Now I have to raise it up and see how it goes and then put that light in. Okay, I've nearly finished the bed now. I'll just take it up. As you can see, it's going up quite well. I've cut the straps, but not all the way to the top. There's a light in now, which is operated by that little switch. Now if you press the button, the light will come on. So that's pretty good. Later on, I will be cutting that corner just a little bit, and the same with the other one to give us some extra height, because there's not much room underneath. We won't be living inside the van anyway, so yeah, I'll be doing that soon. I had all sorts of problems trying to raise the bed up. It just wouldn't work. So I was asked to see an auto electrician, which I did, and it appeared that I put the wrong size cable in. They changed it for a 5mm one from this little thing. So I would like to thank the auto electrician. He done a really good job and a reasonable price. JK's Auto Electrician, Moss Street, Slacks Creek in Queensland. So once again, fellas, thank you very much. Now the bed is all ready for the mattresses and to try out on the trip soon. What I've done is I made a little V-clamp, you could say. I was finding that shaft was falling too far away and could possibly cause a problem. So now I've restricted how far it moves away by measuring certain things and playing safe, you could say. Well, that concludes the lift bed episode 16. I hope you liked it. It took a long time for me to build it, but I'm completely satisfied with it. If you do like it, why not give us a big thumbs up? Any comments, just send them through, or suggestions. I'm always eager to listen. Next will be the last episode, which is 17, and I'm going to do a complete walkthrough of what I've done.